Cool. I feel like I haven't done this in so long and it's literally been 1 week. Why am I blanking out? Okay, cool. So here is my screen for today. We'll make this pretty simple. As usual, feel free to chime in at any point. So if you have questions, you can unmute yourself, you can put it in the chat. Yeah, either way is totally fine with me as you go, and then at the end we'll open up for questions as well. So today we're talking about the struggle of hitting calories. So it's going to be part 2, which we are going to talk about decreasing them. Either way, there is a struggle. Last week I spoke about increasing. Some people are like, if you haven't done that already, you're probably like, oh, increasing calories, eating more food, like that would be so easy. That one's actually very, very difficult. On the decreasing calories, it's a little bit more emotion driven and planning driven. So we're going to get into that a little bit. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about mindset shifts, planning, food swaps, long terms, and yeah, that's about it. No specific order, I'm just gonna kind of go through it. So reasons that we spoke about last week, there's 2 reasons. Well, there's 2 different occasions. One is increasing calories and one is decreasing calories. So what reasons to increase calories? We're talking health, metabolism optimization, energy. We are girls that thrive, we do not survive. Muscle building, food is really, really good. So it's really amazing to increase calories. We get more nutrients in. And now reasons to decrease calories is really just for fat loss. There is no other reason other than you maybe for whatever reason decided to like become super inactive and this is something that you have to do, but that would be totally different situation. Really, the reasons to decrease calories is just for fat loss purposes. So now you have to eat less. Okay, so let's talk about it. Now, 1, I have probably said this a million times, and I will say this every single time. Calorie deficits suck. They are not fun. Like there is nothing fun about being on a calorie deficit, decreasing calories. There are so many things that come behind them, not only like mentally, right? We have to do these sacrifices, we have to plan more, emotion driven, all those things, but also physically as well. Your body really does feel the calorie deficit, right? We do it for fat loss purposes and it's fine, but it's not a fun process, right? Body transformation is not easy. There is nothing wrong with you. If at any point you felt in a calorie deficit, like, holy shit, this is really difficult. Why can't I stick to this? Why do I feel so hangry? Why does my partner ask me what I want to eat and I kind of just want to like strangle them? Like, why do I feel this way? Why is it so difficult for me? Why do I feel restricted? There is nothing wrong with you. A calorie deficit really is just difficult and it does suck, right? Another thing to this is you are not dying because you are hungry. This is something that I was actually told many years ago of like, if your body is hungry, that means like it is 100% you need food and XYZ, if not like starvation mode, and there's all these things. With a calorie deficit comes hunger, and I think that's one of the most difficult parts of a calorie deficit. The fact that you will feel hungry and that's not a comfortable feeling. Your cravings are valid. And if you feel that you can't always give into those cravings, obviously we want to be able to give into those cravings sometimes. If you feel that you can't always, right, that is 100% valid as well. So your cravings are valid, and sometimes this shit just sucks. It is just the reality of it, which is more of the reason to work hard and get it done with. Right? Let's do the phase, let's get it over with. Let's really push, let's kind of accept it kind of as a challenge, right? And make sure that we are not prolonging and like falling off, coming back on. Sometimes you're consistent, sometimes not, because it really just makes the process so much longer. So let's talk in terms of food. Right now, I'm just going to give different tips in terms of really how to make a calorie deficit not suck and how you can deal with the decrease of calories. So number 1 is going to be balancing your food. So we talk about the core 4. So this is kind of things that you're already doing and you've already learned, right? 1, protein. Protein is super satiating. If you have a bowl of carbs, aka like if you have a bowl of pasta, you're not going to be as full as if you had half of that pasta with half a portion of protein. It's just the reality of it, regardless of the size of the bowl. 2 is fats. Same exact thing. If you have just the carb and just the protein, there is no fats in there. You think, oh, I need more carbs, I need more of this, but where is the avocado? Where is the pesto? Where are the seeds? Those things, although sometimes we can think like, damn, there are too many calories and I don't want to have too many fats, right? Incorporating them, even in small amounts, because I know you are a little bit restricted, right? I know it's hard, but even in small amounts can go a big way. 3 is carbs, because they're good. And this kind of goes into more of the craving part. If it's in your meal and it helps keeps cravings down, right, that's gonna be ideal. And then having some type of veggie or fruit in there in terms of keeping that balance with fiber, right? So here are a couple of different meal compositions. These are honestly things that I have when I am cutting. So my meals don't really change much. If you see me eating things right now, they probably are the same exact thing when I'm in a calorie deficit. I just change very, very small things. So like, for example, I just had a bowl of oats. And if I was in a calorie deficit, I wouldn't add like coconut flakes. I wouldn't add as much honey as I did. Simple things like that, 150 calories get stripped away from my meal. Do that every single meal. It helps out, right? If I were to have a wrap now, this is an egg white wrap. I don't remember how many calories it is, but it's super, super minimal. When I'm not in a calorie deficit, I would have the same exact meal, just like a regular wrap, right? I do have a lot more like greens, a lot more salads, plant-based meals. I have more like rice cakes instead of like sourdough bread, right? So very, very minimal things that we want to adjust, but in a sense, these are what calorie deficit meals, nothing super extravagant, nothing super like, oh wow, like I'm so excited to have a bowl of protein and cucumbers and spinach sometimes, but in the mornings when I'm having my sandwich and I am having the things that I love, right, that's where it kind of balances out. So again, this is more of a reason that let's get your calories back up so that we can start adding some carbs to that plate. Now, what we don't want to do is have super, super, super bland meals. So this is an example. When I thought calorie deficit and when I thought like fat loss, I thought like egg whites. Egg whites, they're barely any calories, it's protein. I fucking hate egg whites. I cannot with them. Like I know there is people that like love them. I can't stand them. And it's maybe because I had them for so long because I thought they were healthy. If there is something that you are just doing because you feel like you have to, right? How can we take this meal here uh, and adjust certain things so that you enjoy it more? Because if I have egg whites and a little piece of toast or something for breakfast, I'm gonna be starving like 2 hours later, right? And with this, my cravings are gonna shoot up. Now, if I have a breakfast like this and I'm having the same thing, but I'm doing like whole eggs, I'm adding a little bit of cheese for fats, I'm adding some greens in there, right? Calories do have to adjust for the rest of the day, but this is gonna keep my cravings down a ton, right? And it helps me be a little bit more adherent than to have this and feel like I hate my life. Right, so you do not have to have just lettuce and tomato, right? How can you start to explore different things? And obviously, I am here to help you with that. If I'm really tired of like this meal, do you have any recommendations? Yes, let's try like XYZ. Right, now let's talk foods that keep you full for longer. These are like the little hacks. Now, we want to think complex carbs, right? Now, if you look up like complex carbs in terms of like let's say Google, you type in complex versus simple carbs, it's gonna give you something super generic. None of you are really on the right side here. You're not having like gummy worms or like a donut or cake. Like for the most part, you're having pretty much whole foods. So it's not as simple as just this. However, there are certain carbs that are gonna keep you full for longer, right? And some of those are brown rice versus white rice, right? Brown rice is a little bit more complex, right? The calories are very, very simple, but technically brown rice is gonna keep you a little bit more full than white rice. Now, this is a preference thing. You will never catch me having brown rice unless I'm eating out and it's like eating something, because I just don't like it. So don't have brown rice because Nicole said it's gonna keep me full for longer if you don't like brown rice. So that's kind of like a preference thing. Another thing is steel cut oats versus quick oats. Steel cut oats, more complex, they take your body a little bit longer to break down and they will keep you full for longer. So these are adjustments that you can start making. Apples versus bananas, right? An apple is going to keep you more full than a banana will. So it's really like, it's a fruit, right? But knowing these little hacks can help you know what should you incorporate when you're in a calorie deficit so that even though I'm keeping my calories, I'm doing the little things in order to keep my hunger down. Multigrain bread versus white bread, right? So kind of to go into this, right? Simple ways to make sure that you're staying full. High protein, we already talked about. So making sure that you have a high protein diet, making sure that each meal has some type of protein in it. This is not even for only a calorie deficit. When you're at maintenance, whenever your calories are high, even like myself, I know that if I don't have a meal, like if I just have granola, which I'm gonna kick right now, if I just have granola, I'm probably gonna be hungry a little bit longer. So I do this really weird like fit girl thing that I have granola and then I have like a bowl of tofu. So it's really, really weird, but my priority is, can I get the protein in and can I have my granola? All right. The high satiety index, which I'm about to show you just now, and it'll tie in what I just mentioned about the complex carbs, right? Having high fiber and having high volume to a certain extent. Similar to last week's call, I spoke about vegetables, right? When we think, okay, increasing calories or decreasing calories, or like I want to eat more, to a certain extent, because if your meal has way too much vegetables, in terms of even vegetables that are hard to digest, let's say like peppers and broccoli and cauliflower, and you have way too much on that plate, not great for your digestive health. If you want to have a bowl of spinach, you're fine, but make sure, and that's a mistake that I made, and I would be like, why am I so incredibly bloated? I'd have like half of my plate was broccoli, and it's just way too much. But in my mind, I was like, how can I keep my calories low and how can I keep my hunger low, right? Now, instead, now I know, okay, can I start to balance that meal out a little bit more, right? The satiety index, similar to what I had just mentioned before, we're thinking like, how can we make certain foods more complex? If you look this up, satiety index scale, if you look it up on Google, it goes much further and there's so many different options, but this is just kind of like for my numbers people, my visual people, just to explain how different things can keep you a little bit more full, right? So when we say like grapes versus an apple is technically, even in the same amount of calories, an apple is gonna keep you a little bit more full than grapes will, right? Oatmeal is gonna keep you a little bit more full than brown rice, or like just a banana, or just white bread, right? So if you're usually having like a sandwich with like bread and eggs, maybe you're still starting to feel a little bit hungry. Maybe when we're at like that point where I'm like, hey, we're about to grind for a little, this is gonna get a little bit hard in terms of your fat loss. Okay, cool, can we switch that bread for some oatmeal? And I will have potatoes all the time on a calorie deficit. They are very filling. If you have a bowl of, or like a serving of potatoes and you put like a portion of, let's say salmon, if that's like your thing, or chicken or whatever, potatoes and salmon, you will be full for the next like 6 hours. It is very, very filling. So potatoes are always my go-to whenever I am on a calorie deficit. That's usually when I sway away from having rice and I have more potatoes. On the opposite end, when I'm increasing calories and I get full very quickly, I take away the potatoes and I have a little bit more rice. So we can see kind of like that balance there. It's very subtle, right? But it's just like little signs about food that can help you throughout this process. Switching up meals. So this is something, to be honest, I don't really know the exact science about this, but if you're having the same meal over and over and over again, maybe you have felt this. I personally feel this myself. It just doesn't hit the same. Even though it's tasty, it feels like right after you're getting hungry. So that can be something where like, if your breakfast, you're having the same breakfast over and over and over again, and you're like, damn, this breakfast used to like really hold me down, and it's not holding me down as much, I would recommend switching it out. Can we do something different? So usually it was like the eggs and toast. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna do like, I don't know, eggs and oatmeal or like something like that. But switching up meals, if you're always having the same thing, this is for my girls that honestly like are me and you guys eat the same breakfast every single day and it's just not hitting the same, I would recommend just switching out that meal. Now, some food hacks. These are really like actual hacks. Things that are just gonna hold you down, right? Usually, I'll kind of walk through them. So in terms of drinks, right? Having things like seltzer with your meals. I love seltzer. So like when I'm cutting as well, if I'm having like some type of a salad, I'll have like a seltzer there. Some Diet Coke, that is okay. I just wouldn't have it too much, just because there is a lot of things that we don't want to have on a day-to-day basis in our bodies. So if you're having Diet Coke every once in a while, let's say you're going out to eat and you're ordering something and you don't want to order like the alcohol, or like you want to order something a little bit more lower on calories and you're getting like a diet soda, totally fine, but I wouldn't recommend having it on a day-to-day. I would more so lean more towards like seltzer. All right, tea and coffee is something that is going to help a ton. Just make sure with your coffee you're not timing it out so that it's too late in your day, because that's going to disrupt your sleep. Tea is like my go-to. Usually like when I'm in a deficit, my breakfast is pretty much the same. I have lunch, and then after lunch, I usually want like a little bit of something, and then I'll have tea. And I find that like really helps to hold me down, or at the end of the night, if you feel like, damn, I'm like craving something, and you know your calories are decently low, have some tea, right? So that can help. Every meal, we have the protein, we have fiber, the fats, the complex carbs. Crunchy food is also gonna help. I don't know if this is like a preference thing. I honestly feel this all the time. Sometimes I just like crave a crunch in something, right? But this allows your brain to slow down and sends you fullness signals. So if you're having things like rice cakes or carrots, certain chips, things like that, I find that like even if I just have what meal can I give as an example? Like rice with a protein. Sometimes I want like a crunch in there, so like I'll throw some seeds on there, and I feel like it just kind of holds me down a little bit. And I know that some of you also like, there's people that have like a sweet tooth, and there's people that have like the salty tooth, and then there's people that like, I just want something crunchy. So if that's your thing, can you incorporate like carrots in there? Can we like kind of like shred them up? You're still kind of getting that crunch in there. So make sure that you're incorporating that. Cinnamon is another one. If you want to add that to your apples, to your oats, to your coffee, those are things that are more so gonna help regulate your blood sugar, and this is gonna keep your hunger at bay. Cinnamon is similar to like tea and coffee, so it will help to blunt those hunger signals, and it'll hold you down for longer. Again, with the coffee, just be aware of that. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely have a little bit more coffee when I'm at a calorie deficit versus when I'm not, but just be aware because I don't want it to keep you up. Oh, and controlled portions over your cravings. So that is a food hack because a craving will hit. And if you fight it for too long, it will not go away. So how can you start to also incorporate that? Because I don't know if you guys see like these reels or like how on maybe it's just my algorithm, but it'll be like, I'm craving a cookie. Okay, I'll have some Greek yogurt. I'm still craving that cookie. Okay, I'll have some blueberries. I'm craving that cookie. I have some peanut butter. And you have all these healthy little snacks, and then you end up like, I should have the fucking cookie. So sometimes just like have the thing, right? That is also going to help with your food cravings. I was actually talking, I think it was Rhonda this week. She said that she was like really craving like cheesecake or something. If I'm also in a calorie deficit and I get like a sweet tooth kick, I will at one point have to like sacrifice a protein intake. Like one day my protein's gonna dip, but I need a piece of cake. Like I need something chocolatey because my cravings are super high, right? Again, you guys are like, you do so well 90% of the time. If you have that one thing because you really are craving it, I would much rather that than for it to turn into like, I just ate everything. All right, so again, food hacks. When we think about cravings, these are like these little topping things. This is when I'm talking about like crunch. I'll add it to like my tofu, but it's something that like you add it by like the tablespoon, and I feel like that really holds me down. So finding things like that, like maybe little croutons that you want to add to your meals just to make them a little bit more satiating. And of course, like if you are craving certain things, I'll usually have dark chocolate in the house. Sometimes I'll want like a cookie and I'll incorporate it on a day-to-day. If your thing is chocolate, get a bar of dark chocolate and have a piece every day. Like it's fine. It'll fit into your calories just fine. It's not so significant. And a couple of bonus things. One, this lesson is a little bit longer than I expected. That's my bad. Now, front loading your day. Now, this is not an easy habit, especially if you are somebody that tries to hold off. So like you try to hold off for things similar to how I said like the craving. You're like, oh, I want a piece of chocolate. And then like it's lunchtime and you're like, I want a piece of chocolate. I'm not gonna have it. And then it's dinner time. I want a piece of chocolate. And then at the end of the night, you're having excess amount of chocolate. When at lunch, you could have just had the piece of chocolate and been fine. Right? So this is kind of like the same thing. Eat more at the start of your day. This is gonna fuel you more, right? This is gonna help you have more energy for your day, and it's gonna keep cravings lower. Now, having a bigger breakfast, eating when hunger hits. If you feel like, damn, I usually have lunch at 1, but it's 12:30 and I'm really hungry, can you eat a little bit earlier? Nothing wrong with that. Just don't stay hungry all day because you're gonna drive yourself insane. Now, if you are somebody, because I thought this myself, I'm just a night eater. I'm just a night eater. I love to eat at night. I'd rather have a big meal at night. No, girl, you literally don't eat during the day. That's why you're a night eater, because you have all of these cravings. I get all my cravings at night. Well, yeah, because you don't eat during the day. right? A lot of us aren't really doing these things, but if you ever feel like you're holding off, right, this is something that we want to pay attention to. This is me, front loading has been so eye-opening. Yeah, I never would have thought that I would be like the person that eats big in the morning, like big throughout the day, and like has a small portion at night. Like I never could have fathomed that, even when I was in my little try every single diet in the world. I tried intermittent fasting because I was like, I just need to be able to eat at night. But it was something that I wasn't a night eater, I just didn't eat enough throughout the day. Now, the ultimate hack of all time. This is the one. This is the one that you need. I want you to put a post-it everywhere that you can possibly see it. Plan. Because hungry emotions are not fun. When hunger hits and you want that, like, you're like, "Ah, I should make a healthy meal," but you're so hungry that like you don't even want the healthy meal. Like whatever is in your mind, you'd rather just like on your way home, just stop at somewhere because you're so hungry, right? Planning is going to help. Planning is also going to help keep your hunger down because you already know what you're gonna eat next. I've mentioned this before, if you ever don't plan your lunch, you're gonna be more hungry before lunch. And on like, when it's about to be lunchtime, you're gonna be like, damn, I'm so hungry today, I'm so hungry, what am I gonna eat, what am I gonna eat, what am I gonna eat? And these thoughts are kind of consuming you, but if you knew exactly I'm having this, you probably wouldn't feel that hungry, it's more so of that thought around food. So every single night, we ask ourselves the golden question, what am I eating tomorrow? What am I eating tomorrow? Always. I know some of you do it in the morning, that's fine, whatever's your thing, but before the day starts, it has to be planned out. It's like, don't want you super hungry and you're trying to weigh out your potatoes and it's the 3 ounces or the 4. Is it 5 ounces or the 3? And you're trying to figure it out and you're just starving, right? Takes the relationship that we want to keep around food and is starting to twist it in different ways. So you're asking yourself, what am I eating tomorrow? And you're starting to plan that out. Okay, meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, this is what I'm having for a snack. This is what my day is gonna look like. And boom, all of it goes into your app. This all happens the night before. So at the end of the day, you're not like, damn it, I need 80 grams of protein. What am I gonna eat? No, you looked at that. You saw that your day was gonna lack in protein, and at night you started adjusting certain things. You brought down the carb and you brought up the protein, you added certain things, right? And this is also trial and error for anybody that's just starting. Like, if you don't plan it out perfectly and you actually plan meals and the next day you realize like, ooh, that actually was not a good planning, do better the next day. That's totally fine. But what am I eating tomorrow? Everything goes into the app. If the portions are there, if the like everything that you need is just there, you will be much less consumed with food. So it's just an example of what a calorie deficit day would be. I don't really know what that adds up to, but that's kind of what my day would look like. Some type of sandwich in the morning. The ciabatta bread from Trader Joe's is so good. If you haven't been, I definitely recommend. Honestly, most of this is from Trader Joe's, so if you have access to Trader Joe's, that's my go-to. And also remember that you are not alone in this. So at some point, again, it's gonna get hard, right? At the beginning, it's not that bad, right? But at some point, it feels like a grind. You get hungry, talk to your coaches, talk to the group, be honest. You never have to lie about how many calories you're having. When I first hired my coach, I honestly would try to like maneuver all of the calories to make them fit perfectly, but for what? Like, I'm not doing myself any favors, right? So just be super honest. You don't have to pretend like you are not hungry or you're not craving. If you're craving something, you don't know how to maneuver it, ask those questions, we will help with it. So the more honest that you are, the more that we will know as coaches, the more we will know when you will need a diet break, because at some point that does come, right? When you will need a tracking break, refeed days, or you just need a free meal. This, I think I've mentioned this before, like Christine kind of felt like she was like super hungry all the time, like I forgot exactly the situation, but I was like, I want you to take like 2-3 days off from just tracking. Like, I feel like you've just been tracking for so long and you are deep into this deficit. And even if I give you a refeed, I don't really want you to think about the numbers too much. I think you need a break from the tracking. And just that, her hunger, her cravings, all of those emotions started to go down. So if you feel that, you're not alone. I've probably felt it. And to be honest, I've probably coached so many of you through it. So just communicate when you are struggling, right? A calorie deficit does suck, but it is not forever. And soon, instead of fighting me because you're hungry, you'll be fighting me because I'm giving you too many calories and you don't know how to maneuver them. And Carla definitely knows what that feels like right now. So you are on a mission, you got this, communicate and just stick to your plan. And remember, as always, food is love and strength is power. Do we have any questions for today? That one was, I thought it was gonna be a quick call. Last year I was making my calls really long. This year has been like 20 minutes or so. This one was a little bit long, but I feel like it was necessary. So hopefully you learned something. Do we have any questions or anything that you would like to share in terms of your experience or anything along those lines before we finish this up? You can unmute yourself if you do.
I just want to say being in a deficit is hard. But like you said, it's not forever. So
Yeah, it is. It's hard. The way that I like to think about it, but I'm a little like crazy sometimes. I am like, I think of it like a challenge. I'm very dramatic. I used to be more dramatic. Now I'm not so dramatic, but when I used to go on a deficit, I was such a brat, like so dramatic. I would hate it. I'm starving. I'm like, oh, I have no energy. I'm like dying, right? Some of you, I'm like, wow, you guys do so well. But I'm very dramatic. But now I just think of like, this is a challenge. I'm hungry. My energy is low. Like I have to perform in this workout. This is a challenge that you can overcome. So it's a way for me to kind of see it as like an uplifting thing, a discomfort that is like good for me, because ultimately like I want this goal, but it does suck at the moment. So yeah, Caroline, I feel you. Play all of the mind games with yourself. Tell yourself that you have the energy to work out. Tell yourself that like whatever it is, because I know sometimes it can hit and it's not easy. Anything, any other questions that we have in terms of, let's say not today, like something that came up in terms of like the gym, your workouts, like anything in that sense? No? Okay, cool. So last update from me, I will also be posting this in the group next week. Next week, we do not have a call. So I'm gonna be traveling. Check-ins as usual will be this week. I'll probably be in the airport as I'm doing them, but still check in. If you guys can all like be very timely with them on Thursday, that'd be great, because that's when I'm gonna bang them all out. On Friday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I have seminars all day. So I'll be posting about it a little bit. I'm going to an event for people that do what I do, and it's just gonna be seminars and learning. So if I don't really answer you as much on Friday, that is why. Other than that, next week I will be away, but you can still reach out to me with whatever you may have. We just don't have a group call. Cool. Alrighty. Have a beautiful night.
thank you.
Got you. Bye.